Light a Diep. Hello everyone, wishing you all good health and peace in life. In Vietnam, Diep waits with quiet strength, holding on to love and faith. Far away, CEO James counts the days, each sunrise and sunset pulling him closer to the promise of return, to hearts separated by distance, yet bound by an unshakable hope. Will the day of reunion finally come? The sky above the Vietnamese countryside was painted with the colors of dawn. Smoke from the cooking fires curled upward, carrying the scent of rice and wood into the cool morning air. In a small house at the edge of the village, Diep stood by the window, her hands resting on the wooden frame as she looked out across the fields. Life here was steady, almost predictable, yet her heart was restless. Each sunrise was another reminder of the distance that separated her from James, the man who held her heart but was far away in another country. She carried on with her daily routines, feeding the chickens, tending the small garden, carrying pork to the market, and caring for Nee, the little girl who had unexpectedly become her companion. Though the child was not her own, Diep had come to love her as if fate had entrusted her with this fragile soul. Nee followed her everywhere, asking questions, offering to help, laughing with the innocence only children know. Their days were filled with the simple rhythm of village life, cooking by the fire, reading old books, hanging meat to smoke so it could last without a refrigerator, and sharing quiet meals together. Yet in every moment of stillness, Diep felt James's absence, as if her life was missing a part of itself. Far away, in a city of glass towers and endless noise, James sat alone at his desk. Papers lay scattered before him, evidence of the battles he fought every day to protect his company from those who sought to see him fail. His eyes were tired, his shoulders heavy with responsibility, but in his heart, only one thought gave him strength, the image of Diep waiting for him in Vietnam. At night, when work was finally done, he closed his eyes and imagined the warmth of her smile, the softness of her voice, and the simple life they could share away from all the noise. They spoke when they could, though distance and time zones often kept them apart. Her voice always carried a gentle steadiness, though he could sense the longing she tried to hide. "I'm fine, James," she would say softly. "I'm taking care of Nee, cooking, working. But I miss you." And he, gripping the phone tightly, whispered in return, "Every day I count the hours, Diep. I am fighting here so that one day soon I can come back to you." Nights in the countryside were quiet, and Diep often sat awake after Nee had fallen asleep. She listened to the crickets singing in the fields, the wind brushing against the bamboo walls, and thought of James. She wondered if their love could endure the distance, if patience would be enough to carry them through the storms of life. Yet each time her heart doubted, she remembered his words, his promises, and the certainty in his voice when he said he would return. For James, every sunrise marked another day survived, another day closer to her. He crossed out the dates on his calendar one by one, each line a vow that no matter how many obstacles stood in his way, he would find the road back to Vietnam, back to the quiet home where Diep was waiting. And so, two hearts lived in rhythm across oceans, one beating steadily in the fields of Vietnam, the other pulsing restlessly in a distant city. Their love was tested by distance, but bound by hope. For Diep, waiting became an act of faith. For James, counting the days was a promise. Both of them carried the same dream, that soon the distance would disappear, and they would stand side by side again beneath the same sky. The days in the village moved slowly, like water flowing through a narrow stream. For Diep, each hour without James felt stretched and heavy. She tried to fill her time with work, tending to the pigs, chopping vegetables, preparing food to sell at the market. Nee was always nearby, her small voice and laughter chasing away the silence that might otherwise have broken her spirit. Yet, even as she smiled at the child's innocence, her heart ached. At night, when the girl slept, Diep would sit by the fire, whispering James's name into the shadows. James, far across the sea, carried the same longing. The city lights outside his office window glittered like a false promise. They were bright, but they gave him no warmth. He worked late into the night, battling contracts, facing investors who doubted him, and watching enemies move against his company in the dark. More than once, he thought of giving everything up, walking away from the chaos, the betrayal, the endless noise, and returning to Vietnam with nothing but his love. But then he would remember Diep's voice, calm and steady, telling him to stay strong, to take care of himself, to return not broken but whole. One evening, as the rain poured outside her little home, Diep received his call. She pressed the phone close to her ear, listening to the weight in his voice. "Diep," James said softly, "I am fighting every day. There are people who want me to fall, who want to see everything I built destroyed. But even if I lose everything, I will not lose you. Do you believe that?" Her eyes stung with tears as she whispered back, "I believe in you, James. No matter what happens, I will still be here waiting. Even if the world turns against you, my heart will not." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The sound of rain filled the silence, and across the distance, their hearts seemed to beat as one. But fate rarely allows love to walk an easy path. In the weeks that followed, James discovered more threats against his company, a betrayal from someone he once trusted. Each day became a battle, and each night he counted the days until he could leave it all behind and go to her. Meanwhile, Diep faced her own struggles, villagers whispering about her, questioning why she lived with a child that was not her own, why she waited for a man who might never return. She bore the words quietly, holding her chin high, her strength growing like roots deep in the soil. Still, when she looked at the horizon, her heart whispered the same question again and again. Will James truly come back? And in a distant city, staring at the calendar, James whispered the same answer each night. I must. For her, I must. The monsoon season swept across the village, bringing heavy rains and muddy roads. Each morning, Diep wrapped her scarf tightly and carried her goods to the market, her feet sinking into the wet earth. Nee trailed behind her, humming small songs, splashing in puddles as though the world was nothing but joy. For Diep, the laughter of the child was her only light on those gray mornings. Yet every drop of rain seemed to echo her longing. James, when will you come home? One night, as thunder shook the sky, the phone rang again. Diep answered quickly, her heart racing. James's voice came through, tired but steady. Diep, I am closer now. The enemies in my company think they've won, but I have a plan. Soon I will leave this place behind. Her breath caught. You mean you're really coming back? Yes, he said firmly. I am counting the days, Diep. I imagine the road to your house, the sound of your voice, the smell of firewood in the evening. That dream keeps me alive. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she whispered, I have waited so long, James. Even when people doubted you, even when they doubted me, I never let go. I know, he replied softly. Your strength is my strength. But just as hope began to bloom in her heart, another trial rose. A man named Jean, a former partner of James, appeared in the village. He asked questions about Diep, about her life, about why she waited for a man who had not returned. His smile was polite, but his eyes carried shadows. Diep felt uneasy, though she tried to remain calm. She had no idea that John was the very one working against James, the hand behind his endless troubles abroad. Meanwhile, James discovered the betrayal clearly. John had been draining resources, spreading lies, and forcing investors to flee. His ultimate goal was not just to ruin the company, but to destroy James's name and life. The realization burned in James's chest like fire. He thought of Diep, alone in Vietnam, and fear tightened around his heart. If John had already reached her, danger might not be far away. That night, James made his decision. He would return no matter the cost, no matter the risk. The battles abroad could wait, but the woman waiting in Vietnam could not. As the first light of dawn broke through the city skyline, James packed his bags, each item placed carefully inside. With every fold of clothing, every document set aside, he whispered her name like a prayer. Diep, I am coming back. And in the quiet countryside, Diep stood by the river with Nee, watching the reflection of the rising sun shimmer on the water. She did not yet know that James had already taken his first steps on the long road home. But somehow, her heart felt lighter, as though the wind itself had carried her a secret that soon, very soon, the waiting would end. In life, the most difficult battles are not always fought in the boardrooms of powerful companies or in the storms of financial failure. Often, the hardest battles are fought within the heart where patience, faith, and love are tested. The story of Diep and James reminds us of a lesson we often forget in our fast-moving world. That waiting, when combined with trust, can be one of the strongest expressions of love. Diep lived a simple life in her village, facing whispers and doubts from those around her. Many questioned her choice to wait for a man who was far away, uncertain of his return. Yet she did not bend to the pressure of others. She chose to hold on, not because it was easy, but because her heart knew the worth of loyalty. Her patience became her strength, shaping her into someone unshaken by storms. James, on the other hand, lived in a world of chaos and betrayal. Surrounded by false friends and hidden enemies, he carried the weight of a collapsing empire. Yet through all of his struggles, what gave him strength was not the pursuit of power or wealth, but the voice of Diep telling him to endure. It was her belief that became his anchor, reminding him that no fall was final if love was still waiting on the other side. From their story, we learn that true love is not measured by constant presence, but by unwavering trust. It is easy to stay when life is comfortable, but it takes courage to wait when everything is uncertain. Waiting is not weakness, it is proof of faith. Believing in someone, even when the world says otherwise, is not blindness, it is strength.